Check me out.
Yeah. Hey, podcast listening people. We missed you.
Yeah.
Missed you quite a bit. We are ready. We are launching live here into season 2. Woo! Very excited. 2019 is going to be a big year for this podcast and for the guests we're bringing you. We have a fiery guest for you today. As a reminder, my name is Connor Doobie. I'm your host each and every week to bring you behind the scenes stories and insights from the local entrepreneurs, influencers, mentors, leaders here in Colorado, and bringing this to your ear holes from the Mile High City. So do us this favor. Before you leave, as you may know, we're on every single social media platform. We're on every podcast platform out there. So wherever you're tuning in, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review and give us a shout on social media too. We absolutely love to hear from you guys, and we want to know what you're interested in hearing and guests and all that good stuff. We love your guys' feedback. It's been really helpful for us. So great show today. I brought Eric Hinman, a influencer, social media influencer, in to kick off season 2 for us. And his story is really cool. This guy is a content creator, social media influencer, sponsored by dozens of consumer brands like Vita Coco, Vital Proteins, Revere. But he actually started off in the tech space. He had a successful exit, and the guy is basically retired at this point in time at 34 and just lives every single day. Every day of his life is just built by his own design. If you follow this dude on social media, which I highly recommend, it's really fun. He's always doing some crazy stuff and focused around, health, fitness, wellness, and brands that fall under that category, and also always collaborating with local influencers. Eric Hinman is just a really cool dude. He has also ran the Ironman before, which, if you remember, Karen Frame, she's done that, which is very challenging. So can't wait to share with you guys. Before we get there, real quick, if you're interested in partnering up with us, sponsoring the show, collaborating in one way or another, there's several different ways that we would go about that. If you want to get your brand, your products and services in front of our audience here, Colorado-based audience, give us a shout. You can either send us a message on social media, or you can email us, milehighmentors@gmail.com. We are going to get our website launched and live, so you might, we'll announce when that stuff is coming out here soon, and you can go use that to interact, submit, questions, submit podcast ideas, submit guests, and also we can submit, sponsorship inquiries there. So we'll announce when that's live. But for now, milehighmentors@gmail.com. And without further ado, guys, please welcome Eric Hinman to the Mile High Mentors podcast. What brought you to Colorado? And first off, I really appreciate you doing this, man. I know you're busy. I don't think there's not a minute that you're not posting on Instagram, like hitting the gym or climbing in the hills or riding around in your Tesla. But you just moved to Colorado recently, or you've been here for a little while?
I've been here for a little over a year now. So my story is I'm from upstate New York, and I haven't really had a desk job since 2014 when I sold my shares in a software company. So I've been traveling a lot the last 4 years, and my travels brought me to Boulder. I was working with a company there called Matador. They make packable adventure gear. And the head of marketing, Kyle, invited me to stay with he and his family a year and a half ago in the spring. And I spent 7 days in Boulder. I hiked Mount Sanitas every day. I ran the Boulder Creek Path. I met incredible people. I worked out at Boulder Athletics, and I just fell in love with the lifestyle. And outside of Austin, Texas, and Venice, California, it was probably my favorite place I had been in the U.S.
You lived in Austin?
I didn't, but I've spent time there. I used to go to South by Southwest, the technology portion every year. Yeah. And Venice, California, I have a close friend that lives there, and I usually would go like every other month to Venice to hang out there. So I went back to Syracuse, New York, where I'm from, after that trip to Boulder, and kind of felt like I left a piece of my heart. And about 2 weeks later, so this is June of 2017, I got an invite by Training Peaks, which is a coaching platform for triathletes, to go back and speak about influencer marketing that August. So I went back to Boulder, stayed with Kyle and his family again. And it was during that trip, I was out to dinner with some friends of friends that went to Syracuse University. And they were telling me about Denver, which I hadn't been to yet, and their townhouse on Jefferson Park overlooking Broncos Stadium. Yeah. And that one of their housemates had recently moved out. So city unseen, townhouse unseen. I said, I'll take that room.
That's awesome, man.
And then a few days later, I'm driving with them to Denver, and I felt like a college kid moving into a dorm room, going to Target, buying like the essentials to move.
How many roommates?
3 roommates.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I hadn't had roommates since college, so we're going back 15 years. So I thought it was just going to be a crash pad whenever I wanted to come out here and play, but I ended up spending a lot of the fall 2017 in Denver and fell in love with the city and just realized like this needs to be the next chapter of my life out here in the mountains. It just fits my lifestyle to a T. I have lots of freedom and flexibility to explore and create content, and what better place to do that than Colorado? So I found this loft that I'm currently renting in
Which is
May,
badass, by the way. Those of you guys that are listening,
Thanks,
I got a tiny tour of it. It looks awesome. There's 2 stories.
Yeah, it's 2 stories, 1 bed, wide open, high ceilings. It's about, I don't know, probably 25-foot ceilings.
I love the high ceiling
plants, and yeah, I like the industrial look. I have a condo back in Syracuse as well. Same thing, just high ceilings, industrial, mid-century modern. I really love architecture. So when I saw this, I just fell in love with it and knew that I could make it something special. Yeah.
So when you're, since you do like jungle runs and stuff like that, we need to get some like vines and start stringing them along and all those like poles that you got hanging up there.
I know, right? I can do pull-ups from the rafters, and I do have.
Dude, I totally imagine you doing that too.
Yeah, I have. Check this out. I have rings for ring muscle-ups.
Nice. That's legitimate. And it looks like you have like a little coffee bar down there.
Yeah, it's a cool setup. I got some hanging chairs, lots of planters.
Oh, it's set, man.
That's an infrared sauna that I'm going to be setting up here soon.
Hey, yeah, I've got my kind of ghetto rigged infrared sauna that I built up. I just have this little like kind of 900 square foot spot up here in Rhino, but I've got my tiny little bedroom with my infrared sauna lights and everything. So whenever maintenance comes in here, I got to hide that shit away so it doesn't look like I'm doing some crazy like experiments or something. So you're from Syracuse originally. Have you been up to Peekskill before? Peekskill, New York?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I've driven through it.
So next time you go up there, you have to check out the Driftwood Art Gallery, since you're also big into art and stuff like that. My grandmother's owned a art gallery up there for 25 years now in Peekskill. So I go out there quite a bit myself. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, the Catskills, beautiful area. I love it through there.
It is. It's gorgeous. It's unlike anything up there. So you early on, what were you went through a successful exit. You went through a successful tech exit. Were you a founder of this company? What was kind of the story behind that?
I was. I'll backtrack. So out of college, I started a property and casualty insurance agency. And that's because my father was in that business. He was the manager of a small mutual insurance carrier in upstate New York. And he gave me an incredible opportunity out of college to build my own book of business with residual income. I did that for 7 years, driving around upstate New York, selling insurance to campgrounds, marinas, hotels and motels, wearing a shirt and tie.
Dude, seeing what you do now, I could not see you doing that at all.
I know. I very rarely wear a shirt now, let alone a shirt and tie. So, yeah, I mean, I was very much working on the weekdays and playing on the weekends. Kind of had 2 different lives, but I built up this incredible asset and book of business that paved the way to everything else I've done. In 2009, I co-founded this software company that was called Rounded, and we were building mobile applications for clients across the country. And it was early in the app revolution, so just perfect timing. We had an incredible team that we built up to about 20, and I sold my shares in 2014. The company is now based in San Francisco. They were just moving a different direction than something I was super passionate about, but they're absolute rock stars. We had a amicable, breakup, and they're continuing to do great things. And
They're
then in
so
2000,
called Rounded.
it's still called Rounded, and they now make one product called Density, and it's software that tracks the number of people going in and out of a venue. They're working with like Dropbox and Nike and big companies.
Is it like a sensor?
Yep.
It's like a counter, basically?
You got it. It's a sensor that counts the number of people going in and out without identifying them. So it's a counter. Yep. Right.
Wait, so hold on. Step back here a little bit. How'd you go from property casualty to like into this innovative tech business? And what were you originally building the company for? Because I'm sure it's evolved. The concept's evolved ever since then, right?
It evolved a ton. So I was in New York City with an ex-girlfriend and my buddy and his wife. And we were in Soho, trying to get around to the different stores and hotels. Soho. Yeah. And we were using these maps called Red Maps to get around. So we were having some drinks at a bar, and both of us were just like immersed in our iPhones at the time. And we said, let's try and create an app that helps people navigate Soho, and we'll partner up with the hotels and retail stores and restaurants to advertise location-based deals and discounts. So that's what we did. We built this app called Soho in My Pocket, and then we built Midtown in My Pocket and Meatpacking District in My Pocket.
And it was based on foot traffic back then also? Like it was the discounts and everything was kind of categorized based on the foot traffic?
It was based on location. So if you were within the geofence, let's say like 100-foot geofence of Dean and DeLuca, you would get a push notification advertising a discount for Dean and DeLuca. It was like an early version of Yelp or Foursquare. But our model just wasn't nearly as scalable as theirs. And we realized that early on. We were never going to make a profit. So because we were early, though, a lot of people were contacting us to build apps for them. And being in Syracuse, we had access to all of these engineers coming out of Syracuse University and Cornell. So we decided to transition and become a service-based company building mobile apps for clients. And then along that way, we merged with another company in the office building that we were in, and they were incredible designers and developers. And then it was just like, we were firing on all 8 cylinders and building apps for clients across the country, consumer-based apps, business-to-business apps.
Mm-hmm. And about what year was this, just for context?
It was 2009 to 2014. That's when I was involved in it.
Yeah, so I was like right on the peak of the big
when I was booming.
Explosion.
Yep.
How many application developers would you guess are out there now?
Oh my God. I mean, tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. Yeah. There's lots of them now.
That's cool, man.
So then when I sold my shares, I was at the time training for Ironman. So I was spending 20 or 25 hours a week training. I invested in a friend to start a CrossFit gym in late 2013. So when I no longer had that day-to-day of going to the office for Rounded, that's when I started pouring my time into building the brand for the gym called Urban Life Athletics. And we scaled it from a CrossFit gym to an indoor cycling studio to a HIIT studio. I still have that in Syracuse, New York. We occupy about 8,500 square feet. And then through the gym, I met my business partner in a restaurant that I co-own called Original Grain, which is a healthy, fast casual restaurant.
That's out east.
It's also in Syracuse.
Yeah.
Yep. And this was a passion play. Everything I've done since 2010 have been passion plays.
Yeah.
Solving my own.
Before you dive into that, let's kind of slow down for a second, because I'm really interested in how did you, was there challenges in transitioning from your dad's business and going into your own business? Like what concurred between then that made you decide? Was it just that one experience that you wanted to develop out an app, or what was that thing for you?
I always knew that I wanted to do something that I was more passionate about, that just kind of weaved in with my lifestyle or solved one of my problems. I didn't want to work anymore. I wanted everything to just fit into my lifestyle. And, that's kind of what I've done ever since 2010 is just everything flows with my lifestyle. So every day is the same. And I realized that I really enjoy the early stage of building a company. Like I enjoy building a brand. I enjoy putting the team together. I don't really enjoy the day-to-day operations. I have ADD for good and for bad. Like I like creating things, hence, constantly creating stuff now on Instagram. And, you know, with each company, it sounds like I have a lot going on, but my role has become less and less with each company going forward, because I know what my strong suit is and I only play in that pond, and I find people that can do everything else that, you know, I think they can probably do better than me. So I can just, you know, continue to build cool businesses and cool brands and just keep creating.
Did you know early on that you, in your younger years, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur because your dad was already living that life per se?
Yeah, I've always been really competitive with myself, and I've always been huge into just like self-improvement, and, you know, being an entrepreneur, you create your own destiny. You know, a lot of times you don't have to answer to anyone. You write the playbook, and I enjoy that. I like to march to my own beat.
Love it, man. Were there some big influencers for you on that early on in your life besides your dad? People who really inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship?
Not so much entrepreneurship, but with each business, I'm a huge proponent in finding people that have done it already and done it successfully. So like with the gym, I spent a lot of time in New York City early on, meeting with different people that started high-end boutique studios in the city and just learning from them. And same with the restaurant. I spent a lot of time in California and Austin, just exploring those restaurant scenes and seeing the ones that were working. And, you know, same with like the influencer marketing stuff that I'm doing now. I follow certain people that I think are incredibly creative and, you know, just always ahead of the curve. And, you know, I try to learn from them. So I've always tried to pick people that are experts in that, whatever field it is that I want to go into. And, you know, if I have one skill, it's the ability to like laser focus on something for a set period of time. And, you know, like with the influencer marketing stuff, that's what I'm really focused on now. And I'm saying no to a lot of other things just because I want to like fully live this chapter of my life while I can. And, you know, when this is over, I'll write another chapter.
Yeah. So your key focus right now, like your income right now comes from influencer marketing, and that's all through Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, my income is coming from a lot of different sources because of the past businesses that I've created. But as far as like day-to-day hours spent,
that's your main focus.
That's my main focus. And that's how I'm monetizing my days. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. What led you to the influencer marketing side?
So again, I've always been a huge fan of branding, and I like to have one thing that like is my sole baby that I'm controlling, and then other things that, you know, I'm involved in, my hands in the cookie jar. I'm, you know, lending value where I can, but I'm not the person that's like spearheading the day to day.
And mostly tech is the businesses that you had built.
Yeah, tech, and then the hospitality stuff, the gym, the restaurants. Yep. But now, yeah, day to day is very much the influencer marketing that is all me that I am immersed in right now. And I fell into it. I started building up a following through Ironman Triathlon. And then one of my close friends was Dave Mira, the pro BMX rider. And I got him into Ironman, and just by hanging out with him, continued to build a following on social media. And then brands started reaching out and sending me product. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Just because people are following me on social media, I'm getting free products.
Right.
And then in 2016, Oakley invited me, all expenses paid, to spectate the Ironman World Championships, to product test their new Radar Pace sunglasses. And that's when I really started to like focus on building a personal brand, creating high quality content, evoking emotion or providing value with the content that I was pumping out. And as I continued to do that, more brands reached out. And as I broadened what I was posting on Instagram to like all encompassing, like here's my lifestyle, then, you know, just the diversity of brands continued to snowball. And I hired an agent about 6 months ago that now manages everything for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm immersed in it. And now like I really enjoy acting more as a consultant, like helping brands build out their influencer marketing programs by introducing them to other influencers, you know, telling them what I've seen work and hasn't worked in the industry, doing giveaways, planning events, handing out their product in the real world. So I'm just trying to like do more and more to provide a ton of value to the brands that I'm working with, rather than just, you know, posting a picture and getting compensated for it.
Do they mostly reach out to you, or you actively hunt down brands and put together some like media package for them?
Early on, I was hunting them down. I was just like showing a ton of value. I was tagging them in post. I was sending them content for them to use without asking for anything in return. And, ultimately that.
Please tell me Tesla sponsors you now, because when I go to get my Tesla here next year, then I know who to go to.
Tesla does not sponsor me, but I'm going to keep pumping out content for them because I would love for them to sponsor me at some point.
Yeah.
I know it would. But early on it was just providing a ton of value before I ever asked for anything in return. And now it's more brands that are reaching out to me. And, this was never supposed to be a job. So I'm picky with the companies I work with. I want to make sure that it fits in with my lifestyle, that it's something I use every day, that, I can easily showcase on my story because I'm wearing it, I'm using it. I don't want it to feel like work, and, I want it to remain authentic.
That's awesome, man. So many people, you really do live that life that so many people aspire to, but they think it's very much, I'm going to be a brand ambassador or a brand influencer, but you've actually built stuff beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You've built a foundation, and you have a background of building brands and building companies. So with that, people who are listening to this, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about being an influencer, especially an Instagram influencer?
Yeah, it's a lot more than just taking a picture and getting paid for it. You need to be able to influence. Like, do people believe in those products and services that you're using because you have created value in the world, or you have some unique insight? Like, for me, it was providing a lot of value early on about how I was training for Ironman, how I was recovering, how I was able to, be an entrepreneur and train 25 hours a week, how I was structuring my day. So, I've always tried to add lots of value before asking for anything. And the following was built up by adding a lot of value, not by just overnight posting some picture that everyone liked and then all these brands are reaching out. It's not magic. It's hard work. For some, they are able to get somewhat overnight success, but for most it's years in the making. And then all of a sudden, it just becomes viral. And, I think it's really important to start niche. Like, for me, it was Ironman. That's why people followed me. I think too many people try to be, everything to everyone. And it's really hard to build a following that way. Figure out what your unique talent is, figure out where you can add a ton of value and be one of the best in the world, and laser focus on that. And not until you've built a following around that should you expand into other things like, fashion and adventure and the other things now that I broadcast.
So you kept a key focus, which was the Ironman, and you built around that. Now you have a little more flexibility to kind of scale out because you've grown your following and have proven you can promote other products.
Exactly. But the trust was built around Ironman, just pumping out a lot of content around that, just sharing what had worked for me, sharing recovery techniques, sharing diet. And, now I share other things, fashion, adventure, and, now I'm building trust around those different things as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. So what led you to down the Ironman path in the first place? I've actually had a couple of folks on the podcast. They're also here in Denver. I'm sure you probably are already aware of them that have done the Ironman. So what led you to getting involved there?
I'm a little crazy, so I think that helped lead me there.
If you guys are listening right now, you look at Eric's Instagram page, which I have pulled up right here, he's doing flips and handstands and leaping on cliffs and pretty badass stunts.
Again, just that drive to be better than yesterday. What are my limits? That's ultimately what led to Ironman. But, I had gotten out of shape in my early 20s from driving around 50,000 miles a year in a car, sitting all the time. I hired a personal trainer in my mid-20s to help me get back into shape. And that led to getting back into running and mountain biking. Mountain biking led to me buying a road bike, and I started going on some longer rides with friends that had signed up for this Ironman or half Ironman that was coming to Syracuse in 2009. And they had these beautiful fancy bikes with 4 handlebars, and they were super aerodynamic. Ultimately, it was like the gear that intrigued me the most. So I bought this fancy triathlon bike, and I signed up for my first sprint triathlon. I almost drowned because I had no swimming background whatsoever. And like, I just knew I could be better at it. And I signed up for another sprint, and I signed up for an Olympic distance. And it's one of these sports where you just like keep craving more and more because you want to see what your body is capable of.
Yeah.
And
I hear that is like, it's an addiction almost. You just like keep wanting to level up.
It is, because it's like business, like you are controlling your destiny, and it's not limited by genes. It's just like, how much grunt work can you put in, and how smart can you be about your diet, recovery, sleep, to be able to recover and like put in high volume again the next day. Obviously requires a lot of time. That's the big component. And I just kept like chasing that high of like, how much further can I go and how much better can I do? Personally, it was always more about me, like competing against me, than it was about others. And then when I did my first Ironman in Lake Placid in 2012, I missed qualifying for the World Championships by 1 minute. I didn't know it at the time, but the guy who got the final spot for Kona, he passed me at mile 25 on the run, and I saw his age on his leg. I didn't know what place I was in, so I had no clue. And sure enough, that was the final spot to Kona. So that was the motivation to continue training. Then doing it at Lake Placid again in 2013. I had a great race. I qualified for Kona. And in Kona, I had a terrible race in 2013. So that was my motivation to keep training. And I had a great race.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So in Kona 2013, the course itself isn't that hard, meaning it's just like not that hilly, but the conditions
How many
miles
are brutal in total?
Yeah, an Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and then a marathon. It's just
50 mile. Was it 50?
26,
oh,
26.2.
Got it.
Yep. So the conditions there are just brutal. It's hot and humid. You're running on blacktop. You're surrounded by lava fields. So the heat just radiates. And of like all the things that once your core body temperature rises, like it's all over. And that's what Kona is. It's just like trying to figure out how to keep your core body temperature down so you don't overheat. And I just, on the bike, I had a brutal race. My stomach was off. I was overheated. I didn't give Kona the credit it deserves for how hard it is. And I was miserable. I wanted to quit the entire race. It was one of the worst days, but best days of my life, because it just taught me so much. Like, just persevere, keep going. I saw these people in wheelchairs that, were doing the race, and I'm like, I'm in Kona right now. Why would you quit? So I ended up finishing the race. I wasn't pleased with my result, but I finished. And I trained my ass off that following year to have a great race in Lake Placid. And then I got to Kona about a week and a half or 2 weeks before the race in 2014. I acclimated to the heat. I did everything right, and I had a fantastic race there. And then after that, I just felt like I was going through the motions. I was training 25 hours a week. I wasn't really improving much anymore. It was just to stay at the same fitness level.
After your last Kona 2014, and you haven't done it since 2014?
Yeah, I haven't done it since. I got kind of burned out, and my biggest fear in life is waking up without purpose. And I had a string of just like waking up in the morning and not really feeling like I had purpose anymore with it. Like, I had already achieved my goals. I wasn't psyched about the training anymore. Every day was feeling like work. So, it took a good 2 or 3 months, but I'm like, I got to transition out of this and do something else where I have purpose in my life. So I started training for CrossFit then. And I kept getting hurt because I was trying to put in the same amount of volume that I was doing with Ironman. And, I finally landed on, now I'm just very lifestyle based, and I like to tell people lifestyle over labels. So instead of being labeled as a certain athlete, as a CrossFit athlete or an Ironman athlete, I just have this lifestyle that I have purpose with, inspiring others to live an amazing life, to adventure, not to go through the motions, to, achieve their goals, whatever they may be. And, that's my purpose now every day, is going out, creating content around that so that I can inspire others to do the same thing. But yeah, I've learned that, write a chapter in life, and then once that chapter no longer serves you, end it and start writing the next chapter. You're going to have tons of chapters in your life, and don't be afraid to like stop one and start another.
Do you think people get too hung up on their old chapters to move on and focus on new ones?
They do. I think people either get pigeonholed into something or they're just not mindful. A lot of people are just going through the motions instead of really understanding those people, places, and things that give them positive energy, and those people, places, and things that give them negative energy. And, since the Ironman training, I've been really mindful of that. And I try to only surround myself with those people, places, and things that bring positive energy.
What is the biggest... would you count the Ironman training or the actual Ironman the biggest challenging physical feat that you've ever accomplished, or is there something else in your life?
No, yeah, that is by far mentally and physically incredibly challenging. I love CrossFit training, but the competition is so unrewarding compared to competing in Ironman, where you're just suffering for hours on end.
Suffering.
You got to trick your mind for hours to just keep going and keep going. Again, it's like mind over matter. Where CrossFit, sure, it can be mentally daunting to go into a workout, but once you're in the mix of it, the workouts are so short that you just get it done with. Where like Ironman, it's like, oh my God, I still have 18 miles to go in the run, and I feel like shit. How am I going to do this? And just kind of keep willing your way forward.
Please, this is so funny that we're doing this podcast now. I just finished one of my all-time favorite books that I read this year, David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. Have you read that yet?
I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with David Goggins. Incredible athlete, incredible person. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you would love it. You would love it because he talks about, I think he's done the Ironman Kona. He's done I think 60 crazy races like that in his career so far. But yeah, you'd love it, man. Do the audio version if you get an opportunity to do that.
I will. I'll tune in.
So your main focus right now, you claim retired at 34, and it sounds like to you that really means living your life of passion and also being able to comfortably live like that. What would you recommend for people to identify and also be able to monetize that for those who may be sitting in that corporate job or driving, just all day long and doing something they hate and they don't have a passion for?
Yeah, so I like to tell younger people that the first thing is create residual income and try to build an asset. So, that's something that my father taught me early on, and I'm so lucky that he, was able to direct me into that industry of property and casualty insurance, because I built up residual income and I built up this asset that I still own and I still, supports a lot of my lifestyle. So do that first instead of working for someone if you possibly can. There are going to be periods in your life where you're simply surviving, but you want to get out of those surviving periods and into a thriving period and just try to thrive for as long as you can. And then second is figure out what you're really passionate about, what your unique talent is, what you want to do every single day. Too many people look too far into the future. And, I think people should focus on what their perfect day is, how to replicate their perfect day, and then how to monetize their perfect day. It's a simple formula, but obviously, it's hard to execute, and it sometimes takes years to figure out what your perfect day is, and then years to monetize it. But ultimately, that's the holy grail, is just to wake up and know you're going to have a perfect day by going through those same things that you did the day before and being able to monetize it. So the way I look at opportunities now is, does it blend with my lifestyle? So influencer marketing stuff, as long as the product or service fits in with my lifestyle and I can easily create content around it, I'll accept that opportunity. If it's an opportunity that's going to create more freedom and flexibility, like investing in something that will eventually pay a dividend, I'll do it. But if it's something that is going to tie me down to a certain place at a certain time and make me sit still for a long period, I say no, because I know that isn't something that blends in well with my perfect day.
Yeah. And so, you're still training really aggressively, it looks like. Just from the outside looking in, but it's almost every, like I said, every hour it looks like you're doing something physical. What continues to drive you for those like to stay physical? Is it more to keep in line with your brand and influencers, or something else in the big picture that keeps you going?
Yeah, I mean, I use exercise like a drug. I use recovery like a drug. I use food like a drug instead of taking drugs. These things make me feel good.
Do you not drink or anything like that?
Yeah, I very rarely drink. I might have a glass of wine a month. So very, very rarely. I know like what I need to do every single day to have a ton of energy, to have a ton of mental creativity. And I do those things every single day because I know what it's going to yield. So that's a lot of the exercise. That's the food I eat. That's the recovery things I do at night, just to keep like that physical and mental high going. And then again, also I just want to be the best version of myself. And I know that by training every day, that's going to allow me to continue to be the best version of myself.
So it's even more up here than even just like trying to look really good.
Oh yeah. It's I know that looking good is going to be a side effect of it, but it's more for just the energy and the creativity that I get from, the endorphin rush from all of the exercise, eating healthy, and doing the recovery stuff that I do at night.
Yeah. And you're still you're still so young. Like, what is your big, scary, hairy vision of, where you see yourself at the end of the line?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to create more things, but again, just going back to the chapter scenario, I'm in this chapter right now with influencer marketing. So I'm really focused on that, but eventually I'd like to create more businesses, invest in more businesses. I'd like to do some stuff out here in Colorado. I have ideas brewing, and I try to meet a ton of new people every single week, and eventually I'll connect those different dots and something will form from it. But I'm a big believer in that. Like, I know that I'm good at collecting dots. I know that I'm good at eventually connecting them, and that something will come up from it, rather than really like chasing something in the future, saying I want to own 5 restaurants out here. Yeah. I just know if I keep going through life the way I do, that, good things will happen.
Yeah. So you're just building context by being active, not just, surfing the web. You're actually going out there, networking, meeting people. And so it sounds like there's not like you want to, be a billionaire from tech company or something like that. You just kind of build it as you go along. That's really interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not a lot of successful people like you operate that way, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, no, true. I'm chasing perfect days more than chasing more money at this point. So, and like, I know that if I keep having perfect days, doing those things I do, that, I'll continue to make enough to have these perfect days.
Is there something right now that you're super passionate about or, interested in pursuing here in Denver?
Yeah, health and wellness, recovery are some things that I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah. Have you gone to the float tank up the street that they just put in down here in Rhino yet?
No, I haven't been to the float tank here. I have done the float tanks before. I like it. My favorite though is the infrared sauna and the hot and cold tubs. So eventually I'd like to do something in that space, creating like more of a clubhouse type atmosphere for anti-aging and high performance. Like, it's not even recovery. Recovery is a side effect of doing these things. But the things that I do, they're more, again, just reducing inflammation, which is going to help with mental clarity. It's going to help with anti-aging. It's going to help you perform at 100% every single day. So, I think recovery is just a small component of what this stuff does. And, I'd love to eventually build some clubhouses around that where, like-minded people are going to just like seek high performance.
Yeah. So anything that's recovery, I guess, is just when you're not actively training, right? So keep yourself maintained or improving your longevity.
Exactly. And a lot of it is subjecting yourself to extremes, like, the hot and cold, subjecting yourself to really cold temperatures, subjecting yourself to the infrared sauna, very hot temperature.
Do you do cryo, like the cold cryotherapy or anything like that? Or do you mostly like to recover with heat rather than with cold?
No, I like to do the hot, cold contrasting baths. I do like cryo when traveling, but my body responds best to sitting in the infrared sauna. I do that for 50 minutes every night. And then I spend 30 minutes going back and forth, 5 minutes each, from a cold tub at 50 degrees to a hot tub at like 105. That's how my body responds best. I think it's different for everyone. And also, like, that's time consuming. Some people don't have that amount of time to do it every night. So cryotherapy is
no. They don't make
have a lot of time.
The time to do it.
Yeah, they don't make the time. Exactly.
Right.
And I'm multitasking while I'm doing that. I'm either meeting other like high performers while I'm there. So I'm building my network, or if there's no one there, that's a lot of times when I'm answering messages on social media or answering emails or posting on social media. So I'm combining it with other things while I'm there.
What got you to, because not a lot of people, this is becoming more popular, which is great. Not a lot of people know about infrared sauna therapy. What got you turned on to that?
So when I was training for Ironman and I was trying to acclimate to heat prior to going to Kona, I would sit in the infrared sauna, and it was specifically for that heat acclimation. I wasn't really thinking of it as recovery or like mental. And, as I started to do it, I'm like, holy shit, I feel amazing after doing this. Very similar to that feeling you get after doing a hard CrossFit workout or a long run. You get that same endorphin rush. So then I started doing it on a more regular basis, to the point now where like I crave it. I try to do it every single night.
Wow. And do you typically get to it every night?
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to get to it at least 3 times a week, which it's so challenging, because it really does. You got to get yourself to just sit your ass down and just sit in there and sweat. And it's miserable in the beginning if you're not used to it, but it's amazing. You've mentioned, inflammation, which is interesting. I'm a celiac, and I found out I had that, a few years ago. So I started using infrared sauna, and my food allergies have drastically improved, and inflammation and all that stuff. What are some of the other like key benefits that you've noticed or that you know about with infrared?
So that's the same for me. I mean, I've been sick once in the last 10 years.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I used to get burned just being in the sun for like 5 minutes. Don't tell my parents this, but I very rarely wear sunblock anymore. I don't burn anymore, which is crazy for the amount of time that I spend outside.
Do you think because of the infrared?
I think it's from all of these things. It's from eating healthy. It's from exercise. It's from subjecting myself to these extremes that your body just, like now I'm kind of immune to getting sick because I subject myself to so many stressors that, it's my body is used to being under stress constantly. So I think it's a function of that. It just all of these different things that I've subjected myself to, that now, I just don't get sick very often and don't get burned and, don't have the food sensitivities. So
did you had a period where you had food sensitivities?
Yeah, my stomach. Well, it was more just eating the wrong things, you know, and I just thought that, being tired in the afternoon was something that was part of life. Yeah, exactly. And, like having an upset stomach once a week, that was just part of life. And, I just didn't have the education to understand that if you fuel yourself with high octane things, then your body should operate really well. You shouldn't get tired ever. And, you shouldn't get sick. And so once I started eating healthy and understanding the importance of that anti-inflammatory foods, then, I was golden.
Yeah. So you being such a high performer, how do you structure your diet? Like what's kind of a weekly meal plan for you?
Yeah, I put it on autopilot. So there's very little thinking with my diet. I have a smoothie bowl every morning, spinach, a banana, plant-based protein powder, turmeric. I go to the gym, I train, I go to Green Seed, healthy fast casual restaurant here in Denver every day for lunch. I get the exact same salad bowl with tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, bacon bits, scrambled eggs, soba noodles, candied pecans. It's amazing.
Where is this at?
It's in Denver Central Market. It's called Green Seed.
Just right up the street from here. I haven't been there yet, but I walked by it. I need to go check it out at some point. I don't know why I haven't.
It's incredible.
I'm cooked at my house most of my meals though, so.
Yeah. I don't cook often just because I combined eating with meetings. That's when I meet people or take calls. So And then I go off, adventure outdoors somewhere in the afternoon, and then dinner. I have a rotation of like 5 different restaurants I go to, and I get the same menu items at those 5 restaurants that I enjoy, I look forward to. They're satiating, but they're healthy. So, that's why meal prep works so well, is you're putting your diet on autopilot.
Yeah,
I don't like to meal prep. I like to go out to dinner just because I like being in an environment where I can either meet people or meet new people. So, I've found these places I can go to where I can eat healthy things without having to like think about, oh, should I get the sweet potato fries and the Brussels sprouts and this? When I travel, this goes out the window. But, when I'm here and in my routine, I'm not thinking about what I'm eating.
Yeah. So what are your top 5s for dinner here in Denver?
I go to Avanti fairly often. I get the forager salad from the pizza concept there, and I get plantains from Quiero Arepas. I love Just Be Kitchen. I don't make it there often for dinner, but I like going there for a breakfast or lunch.
That's my cheat day, because I always end up starting with a brownie right when I roll in there.
Right? Yeah, they're so good. Their pastries are amazing.
Yeah, they kill it.
I go to...
We have Jennifer coming on the podcast on Friday.
Oh, Red.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jen's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going there right after this, Phil.
Yeah.
I went to Bijou's little curry shop last night, which was incredible. This place called Govinda's, which is a vegan restaurant over by City Park. It's an all-you-can-eat vegan buffet. It's amazing. Those are Vital Root over on Tennyson Street is really good. It's Root Down Sister Restaurants.
Oh, I didn't know. Have you tried awesome. Working Class yet? I feel like that'd probably fit into your diet.
I love Working Class. Yes. I'll go there for dinner maybe once a month.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So, while we got you here, anything that you're focused on you want to share with the audience and just other folks that you insight that you'd like to share out?
Yeah, I think the biggest message is, chase perfect days. Again, don't think too far in advance. You're going to have many chapters to write in life, and just focus on like creating your perfect day right now, what that looks like for you. Replicate that, and then just figure out how you can monetize that if there's some kind of value you're providing within your perfect days. I think that's kind of the biggest pointer I would have for anyone.
I love that so much. I think I'm going to title the podcast Chase Perfect Days.
I love it. Great. Do it.
Yeah. How can people find you, get into contact with you?
Yeah, just find me on social media and Instagram. My name, Eric, ERIC Hinman, HINMAN. You can go to my website, erichinman.com. I actually have this awesome gift guide there right now if you're looking for some last minute gifts for the holidays. But yeah, Instagram is the best place to find and follow me, and DM me. I try to respond to every message. If you have any questions relating to entrepreneurship, health and wellness, recovery, perfect days, happy to provide insight on what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me.
That's awesome, man. We really appreciate you. And guys that are still listening, don't forget to subscribe before you take off and leave a review. And go hit up the man, Eric, and go check out all of his savagery on Instagram.